Manchester University in North Manchester, Indiana, is one of the innovative higher education institutions in the nation. Dr. Stacy Young, the university's president, is here to talk about their ideas and strategy on the Midwest Flourish. Greetings, I'm Rick Farrant, and I'm your host for the Midwest Flourish. And today our guest is Dr. Stacy Young, who is the president of Manchester University in North Manchester, Indiana. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you very much.
Manchester is, at least by my calculation, it's a truly unique private institution, and we'll get into some of the ways that it is unique. But one of the things I noticed at one of your selling points, I was looking on the website, is the culture and selling Manchester as a welcoming educational community. I think I noticed that more than I've noticed it for other institutions of higher learning. Oftentimes they dive into, you do, but they'll dive into, we're preparing you for this and prepare. But this was really sort of a friendship. It was like extending a hand. And in fact, you wrote in the welcome, we'll know your name, which reminded me of the Cheers jingle, right, where everyone knows your name. So talk a little bit about the culture of Manchester University.
Yeah, you probably know this, but I'm also an alum of Manchester.
I do know, and I was going to mention that, but you've mentioned it already.
Yes, yeah. I have. So I think that's the best part about Manchester, that you come, we're going to know your name. If you don't show up for class, we're probably going to come knock on your door if you don't show up after a couple of days.
Well, that's a negative way of looking at it.
No, it's a positive. It's a positive thing, because we're going to wrap our arms around you and make sure that you're successful when you come to Manchester. So whatever that looks like for you, you know, all students need different things. But we're a friendly campus. I think one of the benefits to being on a small campus is that ability for everybody to get to know you. But it's not, you know, we still have almost 1,000 students on campus, so it's not like you'll know everybody, but you'll get to know especially the people in your majors and your classes. But most importantly are those relationships with the faculty.
Yeah, so let me go back to what you just said. You said, yeah, if you don't show up for class, we'll know your name. I did not interpret it that way. I interpreted it that if you, Stacy, as the president, are walking around, I don't expect that you would know all the names, but you may know some. Would that be correct?
Yes, for sure.
Okay,
yes.
And they would know your name.
Yes, I try to attend a lot of events for students, so that they see me out and about quite a bit.
Yeah. And I've always viewed Manchester as a liberal arts institution, which I think it is. And one of the reasons why I've always thought that is I've always known that you've had this focus on peace and that you have a bachelor's degree in peace studies. And I know Manchester is more than that, but tell me about the emphasis on the human global connection, which seems to be really important to the university.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand what liberal arts means. What it means to me, and I think most of our campus, is that you have a broad foundation. When you come to college at Manchester, you're going to learn not just your major, but you're going to have a broad foundation, so that if you're chatting with someone later on, even if you're not an art or music major, that you could talk about those things a bit. So I think that broad foundation, but we've taken it a step farther now. We know that people ask, why do I have to take this class if I'm this major? So what we make sure of is that we've tied all of those the core curriculum, which is the liberal arts curriculum, we've tied that foundation to high demand skills that employers desire. Critical thinking.
Right, and I want to get into those. Do you find in the current environment that we have, the current political environment, do you find that makes it difficult for a university like Manchester, where, excuse me, I don't even know what this word means, but they might call you woke? You know,
in this political environment, to me, we're in the best position ever, because really what peace studies is the ability to deal with conflict and conflict resolution. And what a better world we would have if we all had a little bit more of that. I've jokingly said I would like to invite any legislator out there to come and take at least one class at Manchester in conflict resolution. Because I think one of the things that makes Manchester special is that we understand different and appreciate different perspectives, which is part of our mission statement, that we appreciate all. So if you think differently than me, that's okay, because we recognize that's just fine. And our world is better because we all do think a little bit differently.
Yeah. And have you had anyone, because I don't think you're exactly joking, you might be half joking. Have you anyone taken you up on that offer?
I haven't offered it broadly. I keep wanting to, but it would be wonderful. I would definitely offer that to any legislator out there. I would offer them a free class in conflict resolution.
Which wouldn't be surprising for a university like Manchester, because over the years, Manchester has hosted a lot of significant national and world leaders, including Jesse Jackson, who just passed.
And Martin Luther King.
And Martin Luther King, yeah. And I think some universities do that, but I think maybe not to the same extent that Manchester did. And so when you do that, I mean, I can guess what the purpose is, but what is the purpose for you? What is the value in it for you?
Again, I think it's that broad understanding. And what I tell when we're having a speaker on campus, especially if they might lean left or right, that we simply follow it up with a speaker that leans the other way, so that we have a balance, so our students get to learn all aspects and even more importantly, appreciate all different perspectives. That's really important to me, because I think that's what college is all about. Not that you're learning one way or another, but that you're understanding that there are different perspectives. And to me, that's the basis of conflict resolution, that we appreciate each other's differences. And again, it's in our mission statement.
Yeah, yeah. So the name of the game right now, and you just sort of alluded to it, is preparing students for sustainable and demand careers. Which is not very Pollyannish at all, okay? That's serious stuff. And I might add, finding a way that's affordable. And you, or I should say the university, I'm sure you had something to do with it, but you recently launched a groundbreaking reduced credit applied bachelor's degree program that addresses some of these concerns. Why don't you talk a little bit about that program?
Yeah, we were the first people in the state of Indiana, first university in the state to do reduced credit. We also partnered and aligned a lot of all of our programs with Ivy Tech. So because we know that students are getting their early college credits through Ivy Tech in Indiana for free. And so we wanted to make sure that we aligned with them, because that hard work that students do in high school, we want to make sure we accept that's part of that cost perspective, that if you can come to Manchester and finish a little faster, we want you to be able to do that. The second part is that most bachelor's programs are 120 credit hours. So typically 4 years, 15 credits a semester over 4 years for the major semesters. We have after the HLC allowed us, that's the Higher Learning Commission, allowed us to do 90 credit bachelor's degrees. We looked at some of our programs. We still have the 120 credit versions of them, but those 90 credit versions are for people who really know exactly what they want to do. And we have tailored this for the adult market. So this is not typically for an 18 to 25-year-old. It's for the adult market, the people out there that maybe have a couple credits in their pockets from an earlier time and want to come back to school to finish up that degree.
But is it necessary that they have those credits?
Not necessary
at all.
at all.
Anybody could walk in and they could say, I want to do the 90 credit model.
Yes. And our traditional students can, but our traditional students typically are there for other reasons. And I still think those other reasons are really valuable. So I'll use my son. I use him as an example all the time. He probably hates it. My son is a sophomore at Manchester. He's a baseball player. He wants to come to school. He's an accounting major. He wants to come to school to get his degree. But I believe, as a parent of Max, he needed that time to grow up too, right? That's part of college. You're learning to grow up. And he's going to be there for 4 years because he wants to play baseball for 4 years before he launches into his career. But Max might have a friend, or maybe it's an adult student who's a single mom out there that really just needs to come in, get their degree, and get out. And that's okay. That's what those 90 credits are designed for. It's more applied, so it's all about hands-on learning, and then being able to go out and do that profession.
Yeah, and I can see where a program like that would help an adult that maybe have some other responsibilities, and so they don't have to spend as much time. Is it more difficult with a 90 credit regimen than a 120 credit regimen? I mean, does it require?
No, a lot of the classes are the same. It's just the thing that goes away. So you still have that very important foundation, that liberal arts, what we call the core, that we've aligned with high demand employer skills, communication skills, critical thinking skills, teamwork skills. You still get that. This next 60 credits is all about your major. So for my son, those would be his accounting classes. the 30 credits that go away are those electives. Some students use those to double major. Other students are just exploring different things. For example, if you're an incoming first-year student and want to just explore, I'm not sure what I want to do when I grow up, and explore different things, that's where those 30 credits are usually used. Those 30 credits are used there. So for an adult or someone who really knows exactly what they want to do, they come in and they get going on their 90 credits right away.
How often do you see students when they go through this exploration process take a different direction? I mean, how often? I mean, it happened.
I don't know the data. It used to be like 3 times or something. They changed majors or something like that.
Well, I know it happened to me. I was just kind of curious about how often that happens, where they go off and they go, oh, this is a little more interesting than what I thought I was going to do. Yeah.
So oftentimes students change directions, but they're doing a lot of things in the high schools these days to help students get on the right career path. So, for example, when I was a student, I knew I did not like blood and guts, so I was not going to be going into the healthcare field. And so you can usually kind of narrow it down. I may not have known exactly which other thing I wanted to do, but I knew I wasn't going to go healthcare. And so if you know at least those kinds of things, it helps pick out your math and science curriculum and things like that. So I think high schools are doing a much better job than they used to do.
And one more question on this 90 credit. Is that actually less expensive, or is it the same cost if you do 120 credits?
It shaves a year off. It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
It shaves a year off.
You basically do it in 3 years as opposed to 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you could even do it quicker if you go through the summers.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there other ways that Manchester helps kids with affordability, which we know is a huge issue for higher education, as well as accessibility?
Yes. So this has been one of my big things since
because
I started
noticed,
at Manchester.
I have to say this, I have to notice it in some of your materials. You actually said that 100% of Manchester students get financial aid in some form or another. Mm-hmm. Not 99.9, 100%.
Yes, students get aid at Manchester. That's why we encourage students to dig farther than the sticker price. We want you to go a little deeper than that. So one of my goals in my career is that I want to graduate students with no debt. I don't know that we're there yet, but we're getting close. So one of the things we're doing at Manchester is I want all students to do experiential learning while they're at Manchester. So what this looks like is, like, for example, my son right now is preparing tax returns for a local agency. So he's earning money, but also, even more importantly, he is learning something at a deeper level because he did it hands-on out in the real world. When he brings that experience back to the classroom, the textbook stuff that he's learning, the theory, makes more sense. So he's learning it at a deeper level. So your learning actually is better because of this experiential learning. And our goal is that every student earns money so that they can go through school with no debt.
Right, which is kind of like learn while you earn, or
It's
earn while you
so
learn.
I was very excited when I heard the new tagline for the Quest to Donwood work, because that's exactly what we're doing, that we're, learn while you're earning.
And we also, I don't know how you feel about this, but generally speaking, I think where we're at in today's society is kids tend to learn better if they have hands-on experiences, as opposed to just sitting in a classroom all the time.
Yes. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. So at Manchester, we've been through the budget process. So we're adding even more student jobs on campus. And they're big jobs. For example, we want our students to run our social media. We want our students to do our videos. We want our students to work in our business office, work with human resources. The other reason that we want to do this is we want to grow our own pipeline of our future employees.
So you've actually, as the president, you've actually put this in the budget. This is a very intentional thing where you've created jobs for students.
We increase their wages on campus, and we've developed more of these jobs at admissions. For example, we have more levels of student employees so that you can get these higher paying jobs. And then our goal is that you stay with us afterwards and work at Manchester.
Yeah, and what do you find about a student's connection to the university when they have the opportunity to not only go to school there, but also work at the school?
Well, it's always special, and I'm sure there's pros and cons. Sometimes when I meet with students who are now employees, I jokingly say, now you get to kind of see behind the curtain a little bit. And, just like any place that you go to work, it can be good and bad. But because, we want to make sure all of our students have a really good experience. So they've been on that side of the house, and now they're going to be on the side to make sure we deliver that. But I hope our culture is such that our students and our employees treat each other well enough that they feel good when they leave every night.
So I assume that these students that become your employees, while they're still in school, have to go through the same thing you have to in the real world, which is you have to be interviewed, you have to put in your resume, you sort of have to present yourself.
Absolutely.
So what happens and what's the message to a student that is passed over?
So it's funny that you mentioned this. We just had a conversation because I learned about a situation where we had a student who didn't do so well. And I said, well, this is a perfect opportunity because it's kind of a soft place to fail because we have the opportunity to work with that student. So the next time they go out to interview, they'll be even more prepared, whether it's what they wore to the interview, how they acted, or just that they just weren't able to answer the questions. So one of the things we're working on, and again, being very intentional, from the first day that they step foot on campus as a first-year student, that we will begin talking about what the end looks like. So here's your blank page resume right now, and we want to fill that up. And it's not just about getting a job at the end, but some of our students, we have a lot of students that go to grad school. We have a lot of biochem students who are thinking med school. They still need a good resume to get into med school. So it's really the same, whether you're going to grad school or you're going off to find a job at the end. We want to fill that resume up while you're a student at Manchester. So this experiential learning is part of that, right? If you have had these great experiences, that's going to help fill up your resume. Here's another side benefit that we've discovered. Sometimes when you go out on those experiential learnings, you discover you don't like what you thought you did. And that's okay, because then we can say, okay, there's other careers within your field, or there's a different pathway. So I went and prepared taxes when I was a student. I was an accounting major. I hated it. I'm an extrovert. They put me in a cubicle for 15 hours a day. I was hating it. But then I found out that there were other careers out there. So I didn't take a job with a firm. I took a job with a company, and I became an internal auditor. But our students are going to be able to figure that out even before they graduate, which I think is really wonderful.
Wait a minute. Did you meet more people as an internal auditor than you would preparing?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Oh, goodness. I traveled the world as an internal auditor.
Okay.
It was wonderful.
All right. What are some other some of Manchester programs that directly link to 20th century jobs?
Well,
and I guess I want you to expand on that a little bit, because things are changing so rapidly now that a job that exists today may not exist in 5 years, and a job that exists 5 years from now doesn't exist today.
Right.
And so I'm kind of wondering how you manage that, right? I mean, if somebody's going to school for 4 years and they start out on this track of, and this goes into another question, so I'm sorry, I'm complicating this. Higher education generally has not been all that nimble.
You're right.
It's very slow to innovate, and it's slow to respond to change. So there are about 3 or 4 questions involved in that hopefully you can address. Because I think all of that is really important. It's kind of like, how do we see into the future? And how does higher education become more nimble and flexible so that it can adjust to all these changes that are happening in the workforce?
So I'll use AI as an example here, because we're right in the process of writing for a big AI grant with the Lilly Endowment right now. I don't know if you're aware of this, but all of the higher ed institutions in Indiana have this opportunity in this moment. So it's a really special opportunity for us, but a wonderful opportunity for the state of Indiana to lead across the country and have a highly skilled workforce with AI, but also help our employers also do the same thing. So in this moment, we're having to face a little bit of this, because right now, for us, we need to help train our faculty and staff, but then we have to train our faculty to incorporate AI across the curriculum, because Using accounting to get as an example, we need to make sure that my son has the skills he needs, and all of our students have the skills they need when they graduate to go and work at the firms or wherever they choose to go. So we're in the middle of this right now. One of the things that I've asked all of our deans to do is make sure we have high-quality advisory boards. So we want to invite those employers in and help us really figure out what our curriculum should look like in the future. But I believe that the liberal arts curriculum, our core curriculum that we have aligned with employer skills, that really helps set you up for whatever career that you want in the future, even if they change, because we're giving you those critical thinking, problem-solving skills, the ability to work with others. Those are skills that transcend different careers and obviously different technologies that are coming out. If you have problem-solving skills, you know how to use whatever is coming after AI, right?
Yeah, and you threw AI into the mix, and that's okay. AI is a topic that unfortunately I like to dwell on. So I would like you to consider what I'm about to say, and you can fire back at me. I'm not a fan of AI. I look at AI like many, many years ago, possibly before you were born, but I was alive. I don't know. You don't have to reveal your age. But I remember when the handheld calculator came out, and people were saying, when the handheld calculator came out, they said, you know what, no one's going to know how to do formulas, right? They're not going to know how to do math. And guess what? It kind of sort of happened, right? Because now you didn't need, you know, you'd look at a math, I don't need it. I can just plug it into the calculator, and it will give me an answer. I feel like we're either in or on the cusp of the same things with AI. I don't have to write a letter or an email. I can get AI to do that. I don't have to do any kind of follow-up research. I may not even need critical thinking skills beyond plug some information into an AI platform and voila, it's all there. So I wonder, like in education, whether it's secondary education, higher education, what's that going to mean?
So I'll push back a little bit. At first, when AI a couple of years ago, and it's obviously been out long before then, but I always thought it was cheating, right? That was my gut reaction. It feels like cheating. But then I discovered one day, I was trying to get ready for something, and one of our vice presidents at the time had really encouraged me to use it more for my job. And I was like, fine, I'm going to plug this in because I'm rushing, and it's going to take me a couple of hours to get this done, and I'm just going to try it out. And what I discovered was that it kind of gave me a draft. I still needed the critical thinking and problem-solving skills and even writing skills to revamp what it spit out. But it gave me a draft to work off of. I don't know about you, but I find when I'm working from a draft, it's faster than having nothing on a sheet of paper.
It is, Stacy, but you took the initiative. In other words, you didn't depend solely on it, but there will be people who do.
That's where we can teach them at college. And I think it's going to happen in grade school. But we can teach them how to use AI ethically, correctly, and in the right way. And I think there is more of a right way. But here's what it gives me time to do: by using it to get a draft or to write that quick letter or email. It's allowing me more time to go to our students' baseball game or volleyball game or music event. It's allowing me to handwrite notes to all of the Lilly scholars across the state. It's allowing me to go and spend more time with our alumni. It frees me up, and I hope someday that it will allow me to have work-life balance, and I hope that for the future for our students. But we know of a school, and this is where it really gets exciting for me. Students, especially maybe our adult online students, are doing their homework late at night, midnight, right? They might be doing that. And I'm sure our college students on campus probably are doing work at midnight. But the tutors aren't usually around at midnight, right? So with AI, we have the capability of having a built-in tutor that actually has learned everything along with the students in the class. That if I'm struggling on something, that I can say, I'm struggling with this concept, and it will help in that moment teach me that concept again. And so to me, and we have heard of a school that used this, they had a class for nursing students that were failing at 50% rate. They increased their rate of passing to 94%. Here's the thing, we all have caps in our nursing programs, And if we can graduate more students faster and that they have that deeper knowledge, because no doubt you're learning it even better than you were before because you have this person like walking alongside you, helping you understand things, because they still have to pass their state boards. We need more nurses. So if we can increase the output, that's a great thing for all of us. So I think that there are some positives. You're absolutely right. We have to be careful about this. But there's a school I was researching K through 12, or I think it's K through 8 right now, where the students come in for a couple hours. They have the learning that they need just in time, where they're at level wise. And then the rest of the day they're spent on teamwork and building out businesses and exciting things. And I think we don't have enough teachers, so that could be the future.
Yeah, I think it's how it's applied, and I guess my fear is that I'm not so sure that it's going to be applied responsibly all the time. And I know everyone's struggling with it. I'm an author. When I go pitch a book, an agent or a publisher will ask, what other books are like yours? They all want to know that. And heck, I have no idea, right? I mean, I read, but I don't know. And so I had an agent tell me, just use AI because that's what she does. And that feels so deceptive and disingenuous. So I don't know if that's okay or not. And you also have people in the writing field who will ask you, is there any part of your book that was AI generated, right? And so we're trying to figure out in this universe what's okay and what's not okay, right?
But what a great opportunity Lily has given all of the higher ed institutions to help do this ethically and correctly, right? That we have this opportunity to direct that next generation and embed some of that into our curriculum so that they learn that. But I hope, like I said, I hope that it helps give people in the future work-life balance. For higher ed, I hope it allows us to offer education a little cheaper in the future.
So we have maybe 5 minutes left. And I didn't get to a couple things which I just wanted to mention really quick. One of the things that Manchester did, you talked about healthcare, is that you have this pharmacy school in Fort Wayne, which was kind of a big deal when it came in. I just wanted to ask, this was not one of the main questions, but how is the pharmacy school going?
It's going great. We, of course, love more pharmacy students. After COVID, the pharmacy profession took a hit a little bit just because people saw those people working 24/7 and all of that. So we hope it's a great profession. We have some really strong partners in this area, IU Health, Lutheran, Parkview, some great partners in this area, but outside of this area as well, because we also have an online pharmacy school, so we have students all over the country.
And you have, I'm going to assume you are or have or are increasing your online opportunities,
Yeah,
right?
we are.
Which I think is something that every college, university is doing.
Right.
Recognizing that for a lot of people, that's the best way, the most convenient way for them to get a degree or get a credential. Okay. So, and maybe you can lump these two together. Yeah, you're going to have to come back. We could go on for hours. So you have a doctor of philosophy and leadership. I'm just going to make an assumption that this means it teaches people the ins and outs of how to be an efficient leader.
Yes.
That's generally speaking.
That would be a general assumption.
Although I might say, having been in positions of leadership before, you can never learn as much through an educational regimen as you will on the job, right? I mean,
Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
That things come up that you
can't make this stuff up. Yep, we say that often.
So try and lump these two together. In your estimation, what makes a good leader in this environment? And secondly, as a leader, looking to the future, what do you hope for higher education? What do you see higher education being in the future? Now, you could write a thesis on that, but we don't nearly have enough time for it.
Right. So the first word that jumped to my mind, and I didn't look over the questions probably as well as I should, but the first word is courage. I think, at least for presidents of universities in this moment, we have to have a lot of courage because we have to, I don't want to use the word fight, but we have to encourage folks to be more nimble and move more quickly and change the way that we have always done things. I was a faculty member for a long time, but I tell faculty, if you're teaching the way you were 20 years ago, it's probably wrong, because our students are different than they were 20 years ago. So courage is the word I would use in this moment. We need a lot of courage, and courage to talk to our boards, to talk to our other stakeholders, to talk to our students about hard things in these moments. So that's what I would say about leadership.
Okay, so have some courage and look into the future. And this is Stacy's vision of what she would like to see for higher education.
So I think I believe there's always going to be a space for the 18 to 22-year-old to come to a campus and have that grow up time. I think that's really valuable, and I think for a lot of us, it's a time that we hold fondly in our minds. That's a time that you learn how to be an adult. You, of course, hopefully learn a profession or some tools to have a profession. So I think that that's going to stay. It may look different. My son takes some of his classes in seat, some of his classes online. So I think that will still stay the same. But I know at Manchester what we're focused on is building out stackable credentials so that someone can come in for maybe it's right now an AI certificate, but over time add things to it to maybe get to a degree down the road. I think education will always be more lifelong learning, so you'll come back to us over time. So, maybe we'll have somebody, maybe a teacher all of a sudden is a principal and needs some more skills to be a leader. So they come back and get a leadership certificate. Frankly, every manager I know, and I would put a principal in the manager category, they need more HR skills, because all of a sudden most managers I know are dealing with people skills. It doesn't matter, fill in the blank whatever they're doing, but they need those people skills. So they might come back and get supervisory and management HR skills. So I think over time, people are just going to keep bouncing in and out of educational institutions to grab what they need in that moment. Now, hopefully, over time, we will have built out these stackable credentials that it will equate to a degree over time. But I think those credentials and competency-based education will be what we look like in the future.
But you're aware of the fact that there, I won't say it's a crisis, but there are concerns that there are a fair number of people who don't see a value in higher education, and feel as though they can find other ways to make it through the world, make it through their life. And if things like affordability, which is a big issue, if some of the other barriers are removed, and yet you still have people who are saying, I don't want to invest in this, what other messages are there? I mean, I know there's a message out there, and this is true. I brought this up at another podcast. The more education you have, generally speaking, the more money you make. Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
It is a fact.
Yeah, I mean, there's data that points to that.
Yeah.
But if all of these arguments don't work, is there some other...
So let's use a plumber as an example. So someone graduates from high school. Maybe they took some CT. They went to a local CTE center, Career Technical Education Center, and they got skills to become a plumber. And they go and they apprentice with another plumber that's been in the business for a long time. They learn that skill, and they've done that for 5 years. And all of a sudden, they get promoted because they're the best plumber. They're the best technician on the job now. They get promoted, and now they're managing 20 plumbers. They may need some new skills. They may need some spreadsheet skills or some skills to manage their time and their people's time, or maybe they need some, again, human resource skills because they're dealing with all the hundreds of issues that employees bring to the job with them. So they come back and grab some of those skills. And perhaps then they decide they want to buy the company from the senior plumber, right? And then all of a sudden they need some other skills, some entrepreneurial skills. They need to understand a little bit about marketing, a little bit about accounting. They need a little bit about finance, and because they need to buy some new equipment and capital. So they're going to keep coming back and getting some more skills. Now, over time, we say, oh, goodness, plumber, you have now gotten an entrepreneurship degree and you didn't even realize it because you've taken these things that equated to. I could see that happening in the future. But I will tell you this, many times, at least twice in my career, I've sat in rooms with people, and one time it was a bunch of CEOs of companies, and they were all saying, you don't need to go to college, we have great jobs on the line at our companies. And I looked around and I said, How many of you have kids? Lots of arms went up. How many of you have kids working in your plants? Not one. How many of your kids went to college? All hands went up.
Yes. We are out of time.
It was great. Thank you.
It was great, and thank you for dropping in, and good luck with all of your initiatives and your
Thank you.
innovations.
Thank you very
Stacey.
much.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Midwest Flourish podcast. Want to dig deeper or get involved? Head to marketingthemidwest.com to explore how we can work together to empower your community to flourish. Let's keep the Midwest momentum going and shape the future of our region together.